Alright, so in this video, I wanted to talk about the Engineer card. So the Engineer is an epic rarity card. So it is a higher rarity card, meaning it's just going to be a lot better than a lot of your lower tier cards, your common, your rare cards. And it's going to be used in more higher elo decks. So it is, as it mentioned, it is an epic card. It kind of floats in and out of the meta. Right now it's really strong, but then there was a period of time where it wasn't as strong, so you might just want to kind of pay attention to that and just see, I mean, is the card worth investing a lot into? Right now it is. I mean, the later you get into the game, it's going to be a lot worth it to invest into regardless, but especially when you're looking at spending your faction cores, which ones to ascend their talents, that's just something you're going to have to be aware of. It is a damage unit and part of the Technogenic Society. And then its main level up, every time you level it up, it's going to increase the damage, attack interval, the damage increase, and then the hero cooldown. So the damage increase, which we'll talk a bit more about in a second, just because it is kind of a unique aspect that works with the Engineer. It targets the first enemy in the line every time. It is a single target unit, meaning and that's something you're just gonna kind of have to be aware of. It doesn't do any chain damage or anything like that, so it is helpful for trying to defeat bosses, big units, and just units in general, but it doesn't have any ability, just chain damage stuff, so you're maybe gonna need to look at other units with AoE effects, something else to kind of mitigate that, or there's some talents which I'll talk about in a later video as well, just because I want to break out the talents a little more separately. Every time you merge it, like any other unit, it will just boost its attack speed. And then for the mana level ups, it increases the damage by a pretty good amount. And then that damage increase as well. When you level up the card, just as far as collecting more cards and leveling up, we already kind of talked about just the damage, attack interval, damage increase, and hero cooldown, that you're going to be able to get a buff every time you level up this card. So the talents, I did mention, I'm going to cover these in a separate video just because I want to break out all the talents, kind of which cases you want to use each of these talents, some info there. Just about the unit, and we kind of alluded to this earlier. So the Engineer attacks the first target, but it also has kind of a unique, just a unique ability. So anytime you place Engineer units together, or I guess not place because you don't manually put them there, but every time you have an engineer unit next to another Engineer unit, they link themselves, meaning they kind of create this chain. And so for every Engineer you have in the chain, you're going to get, all of your Engineers within the chain are going to get a damage bonus, which is very nice, just because obviously the more damage you can output, the better all your units are going to be. So that's the key to using the Engineer, is if you're not linking your units at all, then the Engineers, you're really going to miss out on a lot of the utility of the Engineer. But if you're using these chains, using these links, have a deck kind of built around trying to merge and trying to create these chains, the Engineer can be a really powerful unit. One thing to be aware of is, first off, those chains only work when they're adjacent in a horizontal or vertical fashion. So you can't have it be a diagonal connection. It always has to have something either like directly up or down or left or right to just continue that chain. You can have multiple chains of Engineers going on at once. So if I had like 6 Engineers on the far left side, 6 Engineers on the far right side, and then just nothing in the middle, they would both have their own chains. But in general, you're just going to be getting a lot more benefit when you have all your Engineers linked together. So just be aware when you're merging units. Be careful. Don't accidentally break your chain, just because that will just take a lot of that bonus damage out of the equation. You definitely want that bonus damage. And then just finally talking about recommended decks real quick, you'll see the Engineer's pretty good in some low elo decks, and then we have some higher elo decks that it's also just has some interesting combinations in. And then if we could just go look at other characters like the Priestess or something, You'll see the engineer will pop up in other decks like that, just kind of all over the place. So it is a nice unit for that aspect. Is you can get it pretty early on, start working it into some decks, but it has some good late game potential as well, which is always nice. But thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions.